Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me again, and this is another update on the 1964 Dodge Custom 80. Today I'm doing some brake shoes and some brake work. Daily driving this car, it's pretty much used up all the shoes that you see down there, which I will show you in a minute. And I thought, I started hearing some squealing, which is probably not good since I have riveted shoes. So I thought I should take a look at the shoes, and sure enough, the shoes were pretty much down to nothing. And that was pretty much 7 years of just driving on the shoes. So today, this video is going to be some brake shoe work on this Chrysler C body. If you guys have something similar, like another Chrysler 300 or something like that, it most likely applies as well, but probably not the earlier Chryslers, like the Chrysler like the Saratogas. Those cars have like a center plane braking system, which is completely different from what this looks like. It has two master cylinders, and then you have a S line that connects the master cylinders together. So that is just kind of different. So I'm not exactly sure if it'll apply to that one as well. This is a 64. It's just before the year where they changed the rear wheels to not being tapered axle. So you can just remove the drums without a puller easily. Squealing noise that I heard, I'm not exactly sure why I didn't hear it then, but as you can see, these shoes are worn quite down to the rivets, which I am, I'm just, it's a foolish mistake, really. This is the, let's see, this is the small shoe. Still has some life in it, if you can see the rivets. I have the other side not torn apart because I want to keep that side as a reference, just in case if I don't know how this side will go back together. But I'm pretty confident I know how things will go back, because these drum brakes are mostly simple in regard. So it is kind of abrupt on how this video started, with all the brake hardware just pretty much gone, because I was in my quote-unquote mechanic mode. I wasn't really in the mood to record at that moment. I just wanted to get this job done. But now, once I kind of got the parts ready, everything's kind of starting to slow down a bit, I can devote my time toward recording. So the wheel cylinders I'm going to be rocking with today is rivets. I think they're better than the brand that you usually find at the local chain stores, the green and the orange stores, if you know what I mean. This is the right WC36050. This is the right wheel cylinder. WC36051. This is the left side. Remember to have some line wrenches, because you don't want to be stripping the line wrench to hose connections here. For starters, I'm going to be cleaning a lot of the brake part hardware that I have here. I cleaned the adjuster as best I can. It probably looks no different than earlier. And another interesting thing that you guys may find is left and right side adjusters are different, so don't get these mixed up. Right side of the car's brake system self-adjusters are denoted with a letter R. That's right here, if you can see that. Right there, it says R on it. So that's right side. Ah, yes, look at that. Oh, it smells like new grease. I'll show you where the backing plates needs to be greased so that the shoes don't get caught up as it's trying to retract or extend. You have one here, one here, one here. So you have, in all of it, six spots where the shoes contact. Let's see, you have one here, one here, one here. So you have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you may notice that some of these areas may be ground down quite a bit. So you may need to weld this backing plate rubbing area up just a little bit, and then grind it back down to have some more material, because problem over here I'm having is If you can see that, it looks like it's kind of worn down just a little bit. If you can see that. Hope I'm not too close to it. So you can see like there's a dull section, there's a bright section. So those areas have been rubbing quite a bit, and even with just my thick gloves, I can kind of feel that there's a divot there. Kind of unfortunate. I'll clean up. I did clean this up as best as I can, but this is how I'm going to manage. So grease these points with anti-seize compound or some of the lithium grease. So I'm going to be removing the wheel cylinders because these wheel cylinders are leaking. I apologize if you don't have the best seat in the house, because I kind of need some space back here to take this wheel cylinder off. Sometimes, Chryslers are really nice that, they got really good transmissions, really good engines, just strong freaking power plants. But the things that really makes me ask questions is, Chrysler, what were you guys thinking when you're making this brake system? This is just a pain in the ass. Like a steering knuckle that gets in the way of these nuts or bolts here, you're gonna have a bad day if these bolts strip. I guess don't strip in the first place, I guess. Now, precaution. Since you're coming into contact with brake fluid, here's one bolt. Do not touch your car. Ever. Well, not until this brake job is done, and until you wash your hands off, because this brake fluid will eat your paint. I foolishly, maybe a year back, I did accidentally trip over some wrenches and such. Enough with excuses. I tripped and I spilled some brake fluid on to the paint. Thankfully it was in the engine compartment paint. And yeah, the paint around there is kind of very hazy now. It's kind of cloudy. Okay, so here we go. Here's our wheel cylinder. If you can see that from your perspective down here. Right here. You can take these off. Remove these because these are going to go back onto your other new wheel cylinder that's going to be going on. And also another thing that you can figure out if your wheel cylinder is bad is peel back these cups. If you see mucky fluid coming out, in this case I do, it's probably hard for you guys to see. See that? It's a little bit brown. And there you go. There's brown mucky stuff coming out. This seal inside the wheel cylinder is bad. And 9 out of 10 times, these wheel cylinders that come out of the factory, or I mean, 9 out of 10 times that the new wheel cylinders that you buy are just a piece of junk. So do look over the wheel cylinders. Yeah, so I flipped the other side and it's bad. It's leaking. So when you do get new wheel cylinders, don't expect them to just work like, new, like no problems at all, because they're most likely going to leak. And I think that's what I said earlier a few minutes back, is I've had a brake and grabby brakes always, never went away. So then I suspect that this wheel cylinder was already bad right out of the box. So then this grabby brakes plague followed me 7 years later down the line, and here we are, because we're going to be replacing them. Also, make sure the wheel cylinder that you take off, you don't, let's see. Make sure that the wheel cylinder that you take off doesn't have that little copper gasket on here, because you need that. The new wheel cylinder that you get may come with one included, but I kind of tend to stick with the ones that's already was in place, because they're kind of quote unquote worn in. I'm gonna keep these with the hose, by the way, and that's a trip down memory lane. Look at that. Steel braided brake hose is still holding up well, as you can see. It's pretty nice. And no, you cannot get these at the store. These were custom made, custom order made at a local place I know. I think it's in Dallas. we're going to be kind of cleaning up the back here just a little bit, do some housekeeping because there's a lot of brake fluid all over this thing. Put this wheel cylinder on. So this is a new wheel cylinder. And don't forget those little forks, the little shoe attaching forks that goes on the end of these wheel cylinders here. And let's see, it goes in like that. Ah, look at that. At home. Sorry, there's something moving around in the grass over there. That kind of got me up guard. Funny story. A few weeks back, I was doing some stuff to the car, and I guess I was just being so quiet that the little critter didn't know, but I just heard some noise. And then from underneath the car, this massive, well, I guess medium-sized skunk just came trotting out, and then thankfully he did not spray me. So I was just, if you'd kind of like to know what I said, this is what I said. I said, "Holy fucking shit." And I stumbled back over like a bunch of like barbecue equipment. So then, when I exclaimed that, I think the skunk just kind of like got shocked. Oh wow, there's someone here. There's something here. Thankfully, he didn't spray me. I'm kind of thankful for that. Oh, and make sure that you have the correct wheel cylinder for the side. It'd be embarrassing if you got the incorrect side. And it's like, whoa, wow, why doesn't this side doesn't go in? It's like, well, that's for the left side. If you're trying to differentiate which side goes which, the right wheel cylinder, the hose inlet points toward the front of the car. And then the bleeder screw points toward the back of the car. That was one of my other rookie mistakes I made. That just kind of reminded me from a couple years ago was I thought rocker arms didn't have a orientation like there was no such thing as a left and a right rocker arm orientation. So then I just put the rocker arms. I just bought all left, and I was like, okay, so these rocker arms are not fitting, or 8 of them are not fitting. What's going on? And then, well, it turns out that the rocker arms that I had were incorrect. I really don't like to peel back these cups here because I think this has like a little seal on it also. Okay, well there's that. Here's that seal. And I think this is how you have to install it. You take the cup, you can see that, and you take your fork and you push it over this way. If that is not the case, I'll see if I can do it like, let's see. I'm just trying to push the fork through the front like this. Came through, and then it's grabbing onto that shoulder now, inside the wheel cylinder. I mean the brake shoe fork. See that? I don't think the one over here is doing this. I'm going to do the same for the other side. Oh, there goes the cylinder. So I just pretty much finished the shoes on the right side, the passenger side, and I thought you probably don't want me probably don't want to watch me futzing around with figuring out how it goes, what part goes where and such. So then I kind of skipped that altogether, and then since I have more experience on the other side, I'm gonna be attempting to show you how the shoes will go on this side, which is the driver's side. think that's on for the time being. This, you see how it's not exactly like in a plus shape? You know, there's an open end, there's an open end there, and then there's a closed end, and that's where this little pin needs to be into. And make sure you're rotating the correct way, because last time I've always had this it was pretty much on, but then I turned it counterclockwise and then I completely took it apart again. Also, if you're hearing some strange noises, like somebody's like getting murdered or something like that, or something strange like that, it's my chickens. They're laying their eggs right now. Alright, well, that's good. That's one shoe done. Actually, gotta adjust just a little bit more. Also, give that spring a couple whacks, light whacks, just to make sure they're kind of seated, kind of like what you do on a valve springs on your engine, so that your keepers are kind of more or less seated. The primary shoe, which is the big one, the big shoe, goes to the back, so this shoe is pointing toward the back of the car. Primary or secondary shoe, which is the smaller one, is going to be pointing toward the front of the car. Let's see, these back plates already have some grease on it, so I don't really want to put grease on the shoe a lot right now. And as you can see, I already kind of rubbed up against this shoe with some grease that's on the ground. Not fantastic, I'll say that much. Because this grease on this brake lining can ruin your pads or not have a successful break-in, which I kind of start to realize that these pads or shoes do have a break-in. I think it's called burnishing. You like do medium stop and go or 35 miles per hour stops. So this piece here, the raised end points outward. Well, that was kind of close. I just had a nervous twitch, so that kind of lost it there. And there we go. Right before your eyes, I was able to put the shoes in without no mishaps. There you go. It's like each time you do these brake shoes, that I'm starting to kind of learn now, is the first time you're doing brake shoes, you just want to slit your wrist. I'll be blunt. You just want to kill yourself. But with perseverance and determination, each brake shoe that you complete, or each brake shoe assembly that you complete, it kind of starts getting faster and faster and faster. So that spring right there, that probably took me 3 minutes, 5 minutes, I think. And it'll get much shorter the more you do this. It's just experience, really. Making sure that the shoes are kind of in the correct location. That's a shot that I took before I took apart the this left side. So it looks like we need to do the self-adjuster. The self-adjuster piece consists of the adjuster piece, the star wheel. I put some the grease that I put on the backing plates earlier. That's the lithium and the moly grease in this cap end of the star adjuster, and all over this too. Well, actually just put some in the cap here, and then just kind of spin this around, and then you can spread that evenly. And then I put some anti-seize grease inside the threads of this adjuster, and my oh my, it spins very freely. I'm not exactly sure if I should place grease or some kind of anti-seize on here on the forks, so I don't exactly know about that, so I just kind of left it dry, because within my time in the brakes courses, brakes class I was taking, they're kind of, some people said, to not put grease on some portions of the brake system because it'll just attract grease. Which, I understand that, so kind of, honestly I just didn't know if I should apply grease on these adjuster forks. That's actually one question I didn't really get to ask my professors. One more thing is, do inspect your self-adjuster cable. If it's, if it could be frayed. In my case, it's not. So this piece will go on. You can see that. Your self-adjuster cable will go over here. So you got this piece also, if you can see that. So this has a little raised end so that it hooks onto the shoe back here. Here comes the beginning. This thing is really ornery. It'll never stay put until you put the spring in. Like that. It will keep coming out. That's a good thing, is a lot of mechanics, I'm not saying I'm a mechanic, but a lot of people have a short fuse, especially when they're doing this kind of work. So, drum brakes, you gotta have some patience. It tests your patience, really. But, don't get pissed off, because it's not gonna help. That's my tip for you today. Don't get pissed off. Easier said than done, though. Now here's where the fun starts. I have this little tool. It helps you install your springs. But honestly, I think you can get away with using a screwdriver. That's why you got to be careful, because if that spring comes out, well, you're going to be in a world of hurt, let's say. Okay, so I don't really like how that spring is kind of bent. So in my perspective, this spring up here is goes straight and then slight kink. It has a kink to it, so let me show you. No, it doesn't really want to move. Oh, okay, that helped. Keep your finger clear because this thing will slime down. There's this little indent this backing piece needs to go into. There you go. Did you hear that? If my finger was back here, you'd be in a world of hurt, literally. But now that I kind of have some experience doing this now, it actually is quite simple, a drum brake system. It's just some people act like it's like a Manhattan project or something like that. Uh-oh. Well, that's probably gonna let go, and yeah, it's probably gonna let go. That's unfortunate. Technical difficulties, please stand by. And look at that. The moment I stop recording, the spring goes on. You know, my luck, right? For reference, it's like that. But it looks like we need to move the shoes just a little bit in. That'll help. And make sure that you know you got the correct self adjuster per side, because you don't want to mix these up. If you get the right side self adjuster with the left side, the left side of the wheels will loosen. See, so this is L on it. So this is the left side self adjuster. You don't want to make this. You want to mix this up with the right side. That'd be bad. Let's put some grease back on that. Like that. And this piece here. Lock it in there. Grab a cable and make sure it's wound up against that little top piece. Top piece that I'm talking about is up there. Make sure that the cable goes around that. This is going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass because this thing's flopping around like that. And make sure that your adjuster is all the way more or less seated down. And let's see. Just going to look at the reference photo again just to make sure. And it is like this. So this end goes in here, twist it around, and there you go. Now you're probably gonna need to stand off to the right side so that you can get enough torque or pull on this to grab this and pull it into this hole right here where this cable goes into also. Some varying sizes of channel locks. This is the biggest one. This is the smaller one, if you can see that. And this is just ordinary pliers. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, why did you take the opportunity and just go with discs? Well, the problem is, or the thing is, discs have less stopping power than drums. You know, FYI for you there. So then, you know, so when some of my friends had got into my car, and they were just kind of scared out of their minds because they're like, oh wow, it's a drum brake system, it's not going to stop. No, it is going to stop. It's going to stop way better than discs. Slowing down repeatedly, now that's a catch there with drum brakes. So yeah, drum brakes have a clear advantage there with stopping power. A lot of my professors try to kind of disregard drum brakes also. It's like, well, it's not that bad, really. There you go. There you go. Let's see if I can kind of hammer that adjuster down just a little bit, or the cable. There you go. Hear that? So the adjustment I made there to make sure that this cam here makes contact with the star wheel is this. Make sure that your cable right here doesn't just shoot off like that, because then otherwise it has more extension on this entire cable, and then this down here will this cable down here, or the attachment down here, will pull up on this cam, and then it'll take it off the star wheel. I tap this down just a little bit. So I just took a driver, minus driver, and just, lightly tap it. And this entire cable just loosened up just a little bit to let this adjuster cam down so that it'll contact the star wheel. Now, when I rotate this, there you go. Now it's locked. So now we're done. Repack the bearings and let's see, bleed the brakes and put the drums back on, and I think that's it. You may want to resurface your drums also. I'm not going to. Honestly, there's not much material I can remove off of the drum brakes. I believe the Chrysler C-body drum brakes, or on the drums, they surmount to 6 thousandths. Not much. Also keep in mind that you have a lot of the shoe material now since you changed the shoes on the drum brake. So you may want to go with probably 10 clicks. I'm going to go with 10 clicks each side. So let's see. Let's come back, repack the bearings, and show you how to repack, or show you a method that you can use to repack the bearings. There's some tools that you can like press down and it squeezes all the grease inside the bearing. That's pretty nice, but I don't have that. I'm going to use a tool called my hands, and there's a specific method into using your hands into repacking bearings. Also, I'm going to be bleeding the brakes because left and right side was left off of the lines for quite an extended periods of time, and modifying the backing plate so that I drilled out the outer edge of the backing plate so that it'll vent the heat better. Fun fact, every time you apply the brakes on this drum brake system, there's actually gas being emitted, gas and dust being emitted, and heat also. The reason why you get the brake fade is because the gas inside, well, I mean, you got heat also, that's another contributing factor, but another thing is you have gas buildup between these shoes, and then that has nowhere to go, so then that's why you just kind of get that fade. So then these holes that I drilled out on the outer plate, or outer portions of the vacuum plate, will help dissipate the heat and the dust and the gases that's going to be coming off. Also, if you do notice there's some holes around the backing plate, I drilled those out. I was on the C-Bodies forum, and also another place I think is called the A-Bodies forum. It's a slight modification to the drum brake system where you can drill out the backing plates just a little bit. Don't go too crazy on it, but it'll let out some heat that the brake drums make, and you won't get as much fade or brake fade as you'd prominently get without these venting holes. And the venting holes I'm talking about is all those little holes around here. So approximately there's 11 holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 venting holes. Now, some of you may be thinking, hey, but it's going to let in the water and such. But that's why I left one little hole down here to let some of the water out. And also, this is very minimalistic, of course. There's other brake drums I've seen, like somebody modified a 1930s, I think it was a 1932 Ford, I think it was a Ford Model A drum brake system, and then the entire backing plate was just cheese grated, like bunch of holes in it. So this is very minimalistic compared to that. I think the guy that drilled out the holes on the backing plates on those Fords, I think he approximately made 63 or 62 holes on the backing plate. Yeah, that's quite a lot of holes. These wheel bearings have been cleaned up and they're just ready to be packed. And I'll try my best to show you how to pack him also. It's a pretty messy job, so I have some paper towels ready. How I'm able to clean these bearings up pretty well is I kind of took some advice from this old timer. He said to put gasoline in like a jar or a bin, or like a jar, yeah, and fill it up, just a little bit, a quarter of it, that much, and then drop the bearings in there. So before this bearing came out clean like this, it was just super mucky. Some of the grease has kind of solidified just a little bit, so I'm kind of wondering if this bearing got hot. I don't see any purple, colors, anything like that, so which is kind of good. But yes, so how to clean these bearings, especially in their mucky state. Fill up a jar or a bin with gasoline and drop these in there, and then leave them for a bit. And from time to time, kind of shake the jar around just a little bit to stir things up. Pretty much ready to start packing the bearings with grease. So we're gonna take some of this high temp disc brake wheel bearing grease, and you just kind of want a blob, just a blob of it on your palm. And you're gonna take the other bearing, you're gonna press the bearing into the blob of the grease. I think that's a pretty healthy amount of grease, just kind of cover your palm. Okay. Now you're gonna take the end of this bearing down under here, and you're gonna literally scrape it. I hope you guys are able to see that. You're literally scraping it. A little bubble coming up, and then that's the grease bubble that's coming up, which is good. You just kind of want to keep going around, keep doing the same thing all the way around on the grease, or on the bearing, excuse me. Yeah, you see that? Up there? Yeah, and grease is starting to pile up. Some people like to pack this entire inside of the hub full of grease. I wouldn't really do that also. Just a light amount is good. A light amount, you don't need to go, stupid amount with it. A light amount, just kind of scrape it in there. Okay, so here's a bearing. You can see that. Seal is fine. There's your spindle. Just a light coat of grease. Keep the spindle happy. Probably a little bit heavier than that. You don't want to go too cheap on these bearing surfaces. They do not like it. They will show their disdain by making noises. Once again, make sure that you got the correct side, correct drum side. It'd be embarrassing if you got it on the left side and the right side and vice versa. This is right side. And don't braid the dust that's coming out of the drums. Forgot to mention that also. So there's another race here where the bearing goes into. You may want to pack this bearing also before you put this hub on. But I think I'm able to get some grease back there, no problem. And sliding it over this hole and move the hub up just a little bit. There we go. One problem I ran into was my torque wrench does go down to 5 foot-pounds, and the conversion for the 90 foot-pounds, the 90 inch-pounds that this nut needs to be tightened down is roughly 7.5 foot-pounds. But I think it's so lightweight that the torque is so lightweight that my torque wrench doesn't click at all. So I'm not trusting that. So right now I'm just going completely by feel, and I kind of remembered how the drum felt, how it was on the hub, on the spindle itself, and this is the kind of sound you're looking for. Hear that? It's very slight. That's the sound that you're kind of looking for. It's pretty much no preload at that point. I will show you how I kind of attained this. Well, it's mostly by feel, so there's not much of a method, I guess. Nice and straight. So I will show you that this can be replicated quite easily. Now, there's a channel lock method where you grab onto the nut and then you tighten until it's snug. But if I do it until it's snug, there's absolutely no preload on the bearings. There's none of that that clunky noise that you heard, which you kind of want some. You want you want the hub to be loose just a tad. Remember, too loose and you burn out the bearings. Too tight and you burn out the bearings. Okay. This is just kind of to show you how it all went back together. So let's see, I need that bearing to seat right back down in there. But if you do have a torque wrench, and you probably should do it that way, it is 90 inch-pounds. 90 inch-pounds. I can't stress that enough. But in my case, I'm going to go completely by feel and memory on how the hub was set up. Okay, so once it kind of lightly seats on the drum, lightly pull it. Okay, so let's go a little bit looser. A lot of noise, right? Crank it down until this spot is flat. A little more. Getting better. Alright, that's almost no preload. I'm going to go a quarter. That's probably too much. Yeah. See, so now it doesn't make a noise at all, and it's way too tight. I'm going to back it off just a little bit. Now, that seems about right. Maybe just a little bit more looser. That seems about right, but not at the same time, so we can go a quarter. Now, take this I guess, keeper nut, I guess. I don't exactly know the correct terminology of this part. You're going to keep rotating it until this spot here opens up. And be mindful that you don't rotate the wheel anyway. So I had that earlier, so that was opened up, so that's what we're going to take. Yep. Yeah, that kind of sounds right. We're going to take the cotter pin all the way down. Don't bend this cotter pin too much or else it will break. It probably doesn't freewheel as it should because the wheel is not on yet. And there's just a light amount of play. And spins pretty nicely. You'll probably need to adjust the self-adjuster later, or you can leave it as is and let the self-adjuster do its thing. You're probably just going to need to do a lot of heavy reverse braking